Welcome, everybody, to this month's Death Salon with the Virtual Death Doula Network. I'm Daniel. I'm one of the co-founders and doula at the Virtual Death Doula Network here with Andrea, and we're bringing you advanced care planning and advanced directives today. We are recording this, and it will go up on YouTube a couple days afterwards. We'll send you that link along with other resources. Thank you all for being here. Andrea, let me share my screen and we can get this ball rolling.
Yeah, I'd like to share a quote that I found. And then after that, Daniel is going to do a short breathing exercise to bring us all into the present moment together. For we will each age and die, as my father told me years ago. We will lose the people we love, no matter our ethnicity, place of residence, income, religion, or skin color. Our human lives are united by brevity and finitude, and the certainty of loss. Just as we strive for dignity and purpose throughout our lives, well before the light fades, we can bring this same dignity and purpose to our deaths as we each journey into our own good night. And that's from Dr. Sunita Puri. And we felt like that went really well with creating advanced directives, because advanced directives are what bring dignity to your life and eventually your death.
Awesome, thank you. And now, yeah, quick breathing exercise. I love my box breathing. We're going to do that real quick. So I will count off for breathing in, holding, breathing out, holding, and we'll just do that like 2 or 3 times and drop it. So on my mark, begin breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. All right, thank you. I hope that you are all here and ready to go through this advanced directive. Let's do this. All right. Oh wait, it didn't go down. Come on, there we are.
All right, so advanced care directive planning. A lot of people, really, as we've mentioned, have a lot of resistance to doing this. And it may be because it forces us to face our own mortality to some extent. But what people really don't understand is that advanced care directive planning is for how you live. It is about how you live. In fact, so much so that there's a national community engagement campaign to encourage people to make these decisions about end-of-life care and services. So it's learn about options for end-of-life services and care. And we at the Virtual Death Doula Network provide all of those. Implement plans to ensure wishes are honored. This is your advanced care directive. Voice decisions to family, friends, and healthcare providers. Engage in personal or community efforts to improve end-of-life care. So again, your advanced care directive, it's about how you want to live at the end of your life, particularly when you may not be in a place that you can make the choices or speak the choices for yourself.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
There are a lot of advanced care planning documents out there, and it is confusing. And I mean, I field calls, well, not all the time, but I get folks know that they want to have an advanced directive, but they start Googling, they find out living will, medical durable power of attorney, what do I need? What do I actually need to do to make sure that everything is taken care of? And we're going to start with this advanced medical directive / living will. That's what we're going through today. That's what we were working on. Those are 2 words for the same document. And that's the focus of this Death Salon. The medical durable power of attorney is oftentimes bundled with an advanced medical directive that is the document that legally assigns your caretaker, the person who's going to be your advocate when you're unable to speak for yourself. So this is probably the most important part of the process, is picking somebody that you know and trust to represent the care that you want in the event that you're not able to do so. And for the example that we're going through, it does include a medical durable power of attorney. So you'll get a chance to see that also. Other advanced care planning documents include do not resuscitate orders. And that are along the lines of, given if you need CPR, are you going to be given CPR? If you need a feeding tube, are you going to be giving a feeding tube? So that sort of, well, actually, no, excuse me, I walk that back. It is not feeding tube, that's long term. It is in an emergency, is somebody going to try to resuscitate you essentially? And you have options as far as that goes, but you need to have a document in place. Medical orders for scope of treatment or physician orders for life-sustaining treatment is a document that goes along with the advanced medical directive and basically distills your wishes down into a single document for the medical team that is helping you to have that information in a form that they know and understand and expect. So that's sort of your work with the medical care team, and you will draw up one of these documents to represent the wishes that you've already put in your advanced medical directive. And that's the document that your doctor is actually going to have on their clipboard when they're going around if you're in a situation like that. So like I said, those are a variety of the advanced care planning documents you can expect to see. We're going to get into the advanced medical directive. Yeah, that's what we're here for. So, Andrea.
All right. So when you are completing your advanced medical directives, there's several steps you're going to need to take. We would recommend printing out several copies so that you have space to kind of work with it. So you can kind of do one, and if you feel like it's not quite right, and you have another one to do. So you can do a practice one and another one. So print out a couple copies before you start. Talk to your friends, family, and physicians about your advanced care directive. This is incredibly important. Be sure the person you appoint to make decisions on your behalf understands your wishes. So not only is it important that that person understand what you want, but what's really important is that they're going to be able to carry out those wishes, because this is hard. Those wishes could include removing you from life support, choosing to not have life-sustaining measures used. So when you choose this person, it's important to find someone who will not only honor your wishes and understand your wishes, but really make sure they happen. And then once the form is completed and signed, photocopy it, give it to the person you've appointed, give it to any alternates, make sure your friends, family, healthcare providers have it, and also make sure that it is prominently displayed. If you are in a place in your life where you may need resuscitation, where things are perhaps towards the end, you want to make sure that your advanced care directives are posted. They're posted at the front door. They're posted at your bedside. If the paramedics or EMTs come to your house because you are needing resuscitation, your heart stops, something like that, and they do not see your advanced care directives that say, please do not resuscitate, they are going to save your life or attempt to, because that is their job. So it is really important to make sure these documents are displayed well. Many states, including Colorado, which is where we are headquartered, have an advanced directive registry. So you can file your advanced directive online with the registry, and then your healthcare provider and loved ones would be able to find a copy of the directive in the event you're unable to provide one. But you would have to request your healthcare provider upload that for you. You may also want to save a copy of your form in an online personal health records application, program, a service, or even an email to just make sure that everybody that's part of your care team, your physicians, family, friends, know what you want and are able to take an active role in carrying out your wishes and planning.
Awesome. Thank you. We're almost up to diving into the advanced medical directive. Just a couple other questions again to have in mind as we get into this, and we keep hammering on this. Who should I appoint as my agent? This is, this is the most important thing. Like, who do you want advocating for you? Carefully consider it, make sure that they are on the same page with you. And yeah. Should I add personal instructions to my advanced medical directive? You'll see when we go into this, there's a lot of the advanced medical directives vary by state, they vary by country as well, but they're all very similar and are asking the same questions effectively. But they also leave open blank space to put in any specific instructions that aren't covered specifically by the questions included already. And we'll get a chance to go into that and talk about what some of those might look like when we get there. How do we make this advanced medical directive legal? After everything is done, you get to have 2 non-interested witnesses sign it, and it does have to be notarized as well. There are some constraints as to who these witnesses cannot be, just because of sort of conflict of interest type stuff. You can't tell somebody to sign it for you if they have, just because you need a signature, you have to, they have to be willing to do it as a witness. You can't have the physician necessarily do it, or any of the healthcare folks that are associated with providing your care, or any folks that might be associated with your estate or have some sort of, again, any potential conflict of interest as that might cause them to not be able to really get in. Anything that might potentially get in the way of being a proper witness. And there's also, you could also have somebody sign on your behalf if necessary, and they follow the same sort of restrictions as far as who that might be. And you can always change your mind. You can always change your mind and destroy existing ones if you need to, create a new one on the fly. What you've done is not written in stone, very far from it. It is always, you can always change your mind when it comes to whatever you put in your advanced directive. So we have considered all that stuff. It is time to go into the advanced directive and take a look at it. I'm going to bring that up. Our Colorado advanced directive. So this is downloaded off of the internet, and we've got this here and we are ready to go. So we're just going to walk through this to show you what it looks like and talk about what some of the answers might look like and everything. Let's get going for our Joe Doe. And again, here it is the very first thing we talk about, the agent who's going to be in charge of that person. Andrea, let's start filling this out. Who do you want to be your agent?
Well, I would actually pick you, Daniel, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Well, first of all, Daniel is able to remain calm in stressful situations. And that's something that you have to think about, is that when we're talking about these things, somebody could understand what you want, they could feel like it, but when it comes down to it, you have to maybe act quickly and make these decisions quickly. So you want to make sure someone is able to operate under that kind of pressure. I also know that Daniel would honor my wishes if it were to not be resuscitated, not have any life-saving measures. I know that he has the capacity to make that and honor that decision for me.
Right. Thank you. And you will notice that this is the medical durable power of attorney that we mentioned before. This is the part that is the legally binding. This person is their agent. And here's the technical words that go along with everything that Andrea was just talking about. There's room for alternates too, in case the first.
And we would recommend picking an alternate just in case, because this is really important. This is how you want to live up until the moment you die. So I would pick my friend Christine Martinez for the very same reasons, is because I know she would be able to make those hard decisions. And again, honoring the decisions of people you love is hard because you love them and you don't want to lose them.
Yeah. So I almost want to come back to this. This is the part with the additional instructions that we could pull in if we don't cover, the stuff that's not specifically covered by the latter part. So I'm actually going to go further. We'll go into part 2 with the actual questions, then come back to this to talk about it, the free form answer that we could possibly give. So, all right, Andrea, would you like to
Yes. So this is important where it says and I would say Andrea Michelle Sugar, being of sound mind and at least 18 years of age, direct that my life shall not be artificially prolonged under the circumstances set forth below, and hereby declare that. Now, again, cannot stress enough how important it is to create your advanced directives, like they say, when you are of sound mind, before you're sick, before anything's wrong, before you could end up in a car accident tomorrow. So having these done when you're really in a solid place is important. So here are the options. Could you go up a little bit, Daniel?
Oh, sorry.
So no.
Yeah, by the way.
So this is any doctor or qualified doctor certifies in writing that I have an injury, disease, or illness which is terminal, and for which the administration of life-sustaining procedures would only serve to prolong the dying process, and I'm unable to make healthcare decisions, or I am in a persistent vegetative state. So these are two options. I am either completely a vegetable, or I'm in a place where the only thing they can do for me would be to prolong my dying process. It would not be curative. So here are the options then, if that's the state I'm in. I could choose to direct that life-sustaining procedures shall be withdrawn and or withheld pursuant to the terms of this declaration, being understood that life-sustaining procedures shall not include any medical procedure or intervention for nourishment considered necessary by the attending physician to provide comfort or alleviate pain. You can choose, I direct that life-sustaining procedures shall be continued for a specific period of time. And if there's no change in condition, you would then indicate to the doctors that the prognosis has improved and that the life-sustaining procedures shall be withdrawn or withheld, depending on the state at the time when the time period ends. And it understood that life-sustaining procedures don't include any medical procedures for nourishment considered necessary to provide comfort or alleviate pain. And again, those are things that are not curative. They're comfort providing. They're making sure that the person is not in any distress. And then the very last thing that you can choose is, I direct that life-sustaining procedures shall be continued indefinitely, regardless of prognosis. So the things to think about is, how do you want to live? Do you want to live in a vegetative state? Do you want your family to take care of you indefinitely? Do you have plans for what that would look like? For me, if I were filling this out, I would actually choose number one, and I would request that life-sustaining procedures be withdrawn and only comfort provided, because I would not want to remain in a vegetative state.
Thank you. Yeah, I am of a similar thoughts when it comes to this sort of thing as well. And that's why the person that you choose to be your agent is so important, because if you are choosing that particular one, your agent is going to be advocating for that particular choice if that's what the situation calls for. And that's obviously potentially hard, very hard, and just sort of drives home the point of making sure that that person that you choose to do this for you is somebody that you do trust to literally life and death decisions for you.
Okay, so in the event that the only procedure I'm being provided is artificial nourishment, I direct that one of the following actions be taken. So again, this is if you have a feeding tube or artificial nourishment, you can effectively exist for a very long time. So you can say, artificial nourishment shall not be continued when it is the only procedure being provided, which means that you are in a state where nothing is happening and you are only being kept alive by this nourishment. Artificial nourishment shall be continued for a specific number of days when it's only the only procedure being provided, or artificial nourishment shall be continued indefinitely. So again, it's very similar to the question we just answered, where you can say, take it away, leave it for a specific amount of time, or leave it indefinitely. Again, for me, I would choose to have it removed immediately. If that is the only thing keeping me alive, I'm not interested in just sort of being there, taking up space with artificial nourishment, because that for me is not quality of life. And again, we're talking about how do you want to live? And I would not want to live that way. And I think it's such a beautiful blessing that we have the opportunity to make these choices.
And they actually give us a second free form place to write here. So we won't even worry about going back to the other one, but this is where we get into sort of the custom, any custom directions that we want for the advanced directive, because this is like those two questions, that's the bulk of the advanced directive. Like those are the main things that it's covered. And now at this point it is, do you have any additional wishes that you would like to have reflected in this that are not specifically covered by those questions covering life-sustaining treatment and what to do if you're in a persistent vegetative state or a coma or something along those lines that you are not going to come back from.
So you could include things here about, I would like to die at home. I would like to have a green cremation. I would not like to be cremated. Things like that. Your wishes for burial, perhaps, you know, what you might want in terms of if you're able to go home to die, or if you're going to be in hospice, or who you would like present even. This is a space for you to add all of those things.
Right, exactly. Trying to, I don't know, like for folks that have filled out their advanced directive already, if you've got anything, like, are there anything that came up for you that was particularly challenging, or like anything that you had that was specific that might not have fallen under the questions provided? I mean, because we can get into stuff as far as, you know, discussing like, I guess sort of like palliative care, like considerations as far as the pain that you might be in can come into consideration when you're thinking about these sort of things, and where sorry,
You could even indicate in this area, you could say, I do, if you don't want to be kept on life-sustaining measures, but you do say want to be kept on them until certain people arrive. You could say, I wish to have life-sustaining measures until my daughter arrives. And after she's had an appropriate amount of time with me, I'd like to be removed.
Yeah.
So you can really tailor it that specifically.
Right. And it just takes some thinking and some consideration, and just sort of really, you know, thinking about your own death and how you want that to look, and obviously less than ideal situations.
Louisa just mentioned that she said the form that she used had a lot of questions about other treatments, dialysis and antibiotics, which she had to answer, and it was easy to get bogged down. That is understandable. That's one of the reasons we chose this form, is because it's really straightforward. And now all of the states are going to be pretty similar. They are all going to have these cards. But that is something to think about, is that if the form is really complicated, it can feel overwhelming. So our suggestion would be to do it in little bits, take little breaks. How did it feel for you, Louisa? Did you go through it all at once, or did you take breaks?
Hi there. We did most of it all at once, and then it took a while to find somebody to sign it. So you had to kind of think about it and think about it again. I used the end of life Washington form, which includes, again, the agent and the advanced directive in it. But yeah, it was thought provoking.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, like, the differences in states. I live in Oregon, and like one of the questions on Oregon talks about like spiritual beliefs, and which is obviously something that would have to go in one of these sections if they don't have it, but basically asking, like, you know, do you want any particular rituals or sacraments done prior to, like, when you get to this state, or if you've got some issues about like blood transfusions, maybe you don't want to accept blood transfusions for whatever reasons. Those are, you know, additional things that sort of come into play that, again, are included potentially in an advanced directive for one state that might not be in another, but gives you food for thought. Like if you know that you can actually, sort of like go and look at other state advanced directives and potentially find questions that you might not have thought of, and just sort of to further other things to meditate on that you might want to include, because you might like it's potentially challenging to come up with some of these things. And it's some folks, the folks that put these forms together have done a lot of the thinking for you already, as far as that goes, as far as the questions, the main questions that you want to be answered. But again, because it does vary state by state, there are, you can gain little bits of information from peeking at other states beside your own and give you ideas to stuff to consider that you might not have otherwise considered.
And again, you can always amend them. You would have to redo the form, but you could just copy what you had already done with your amendments onto a new form. Mary said, I know it's important for end of life with memory care to not force feed. People can aspirate or it can prolong life suffering. Mary, you really hit the nail on the head. And this is actually a fairly personal issue for me, because my father's advanced directives were ignored, and they put a feeding tube in him, and he lived so much longer than he would have liked, and in a capacity that he wouldn't have liked. He was very clear about what he wanted for his dignity. And once that feeding tube is in, it's true. It's kind of indefinite. And that is a reason that these advanced care directives are so important. And not only is it so important to fill it out, but to make sure they're posted so that they're honored.
And to make sure that the person, your agent, is advocating for you, because that's like,
because that's for me. And again, this is pretty,
because that didn't happen in your case.
Yeah, my dad had an advanced directive, and my mother was so distraught that she couldn't handle the idea of losing him that she hid them from the EMTs, and they put a feeding tube in him. So it's just vital that you choose someone that can really honor your wishes over their own emotional feelings about this.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions, comments that they would like to throw out there? We're about to close down and sort of summarize what we just went through. All right, minimize this. And
all right. So now that you've filled out your advanced directive, what do you do with it? You want to make sure that you have it in a secure place. You want to make sure you provide copies to the appropriate parties. So that would be your agent, your alternate agent, your healthcare people, your friends, your family, anyone that's around you, so that they know, just in case they happen to be at your house when this happens. Review your document with your care team. Go over it, make sure they understand. Have a copy available online, provide a copy to the state registry if that's applicable in your state or country. If you want to make changes to your document after they've been signed and witnessed, again, you have to complete a new document, but you will be very well skilled at it already at that point. You can always revoke your advanced directive. Even if you make one of these and you completely change your mind, you can get rid of it, delete it, it'll be done. Not a problem. And then again, as I mentioned, and this is the most important thing along with your agent, is to make sure your document is properly and prominently displayed at your bedside, at the door, anywhere that medics, EMTs, paramedics that are coming to potentially perform life-saving measures would see it, so they do not. Those are the big things.
yes, Daniel, the question about having more than one person on that durable medical power of attorney. Yeah, you can have alternates. You do a primary, and then in this particular case for the Colorado, you can have up to 2 alternates in case that first person is unavailable for whatever reason. And yes, it is a good idea to have at least one alternate. And like, if you can get both, why not? Like, you're only, minimizing the chances of something going wrong in a situation where things are going to be kind of stressful already. So.
And Mary, I think that's amazing. I mean, you really, really kind of encapsulated how important these documents are and how it's important to have them everywhere. Because if they are not displayed by law, paramedics have to save your life. That's their job. So again, having a copy under your car seat, have a copy in your purse, take pictures of it, have a copy on your phone. Those are
We're
all
done with the slides, right? I just
Yep.
turned that off because I realized that we can actually look at our faces instead of instead of slides. But actually, actually we're getting to wrapping up here. I mean, we're to the Q&A and we're in that already. So more questions?
Well, if no one has any questions, which is understandable because we really are very grateful to Louisa and Mary for sharing their experiences of having doing this. And Daniel, we really appreciate your careful question about how to do this. Again, if anybody knows someone who needs help with advanced care directives, we do these.
No, you don't do funeral plans on a living will as a general. Like that's a different. I don't even know if that's formally a document. Like there's that. Like I don't think there's a specific like funeral document that you would fill out. But I mean.
But you could in the alternate spaces, you could say, this is what I would like for my funeral. And you would just make sure that the person acting as your agent knows your wishes for what happens post-mortem.
Yeah, the advanced directive is not meant to be used for something like funeral plans. So you can put stuff in there like and just to have it there as well. But I would encourage you to have that taken care of elsewhere as well, we'll say.
Because again, the advanced care directives, they're really, as hard as it is kind of understand this, they really are about living.
Right.
How do you want to live in these very specific instances and spaces?
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, I just wanted to say that there's a dementia directive. And I got a form that's fairly simple and generic. You can add it to any state. And I liked it because I had things like if somebody's giving me food and I'm turning away, stop feeding me. And dementia being so prevalent, I think that's a great thing to have on file too. So,
Agreed. Absolutely,
saying.
Louisa. Thank you for sharing that. So let's see if no one else has any questions. I guess we'll go to our last slide and give you some fun updates about the virtual death doula network.
Oh, that was last slide. That was I thought that was our last slide. That was we didn't put any of that other stuff on a slide. That was our last slide.
Well, then we're just going to talk about it. So we are excited to announce that we have a new service that we offer. In addition to our grief and death anxiety support, we offer a spiritual coaching service now. And that is for people who want to kind of explore death, maybe in a deeper level, a more existential level. They've explored their grief and maybe now they want to get a little bit deeper with it or talk about spiritual components or non-spiritual components, connection or not connection. So we're pretty excited about that. And you can find that on our services page.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put some links in the chat real quick for my agenda.
Also, as always, the Virtual Death Doula Network is grateful for all of the donations. It is what keeps us running. There are several ways that you can donate to us. We have a PayPal link. We have Venmo. All donations are tax deductible. We are a 501c3 and there is no amount that is too big or too little. Do you have the Venmo?
Yeah, I'm getting that one. It's coming next.
And again, we really appreciate it. Your donations are what keep us running and keep us able to care for people who don't have the capacity to afford this kind of necessary care.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, really. Thank you so much. It does. And yeah, it's been fantastic. You've been very supportive and we appreciate it a great deal because
so much gratitude. And again, thank you all for showing up. I know this was a very small group and two of you already have wonderful experience and we're grateful that you shared that with us. Daniel, thanks for showing up again with your good questions and we look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Yeah, thank you for coming and we'll see you at the next Death Salon.
And please feel free to reach out at any time ever. We're always happy to chat. You can reach us through our email, which is on our website, or Messenger on Facebook.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all so much.